Okay, we have our drawing established, and now I want to start refining by using more shapes. It turns out that we have a bunch of shapes behind our object, and so by just kind of taking each one of them as a separate shape from the outside in, guess what? It becomes an easy way to exactly place the edge of the positive shape because they share the same edge. Positive shape, negative shape, same edge. So you get one right and it becomes okay for both negative and positive. I want to see if I can get angles, lengths, and as I do this, I have done this drawing quite a couple days ago, and so as I see myself redoing this drawing, I'm looking at a few errors. I kind of wish I could go in and change everything because angles are a little bit wrong, but you can probably see that as well as I can. But every time I put in a new shape, it informs another little check and balance. Is it long enough? Is it wide enough? Is it the right shape, the right space, the right angle, the right length? Everything's a check. And so I keep going and definitely looking and seeing what I'm doing and seeing how dark something is. Now in order to see shapes, I'm going to have to start erasing out lights, but with charcoal it's so easy. I'm going to just let it go for a while and you can watch. I've speeded this video up quite a bit because I take a little bit more time and double check a bunch of different ways as I go. So by speeding it up, it doesn't take more than about 20 minutes on this video if I'm not mistaken. So I'll come in when I think it might help, when I think that you need to know something that I'm doing. Meanwhile, you can just watch and see if you can figure it out. I know that when I look at this now, I'm saying to myself that this angle is a little bit wrong. It should be a little bit deeper angle, more like a 45-degree angle, and it's a little bit flat right now. These small little shapes, I love them. The little tiny shapes, they tell me so much, and it seems like it would be a little bit odd that a small shape would be more helpful than a big shape, but they're easier to catch exactly right. Here we have another angle that is a bit off right now. I'm hoping by the end of tomorrow's lesson or the final lesson I'll catch that and correct it, but right now I'm just watching and trying to get values as close as I can. Looking for a darker piece of charcoal, I think, right now. This shape, really nice V, deep V, steep V, and that's going to make it so if I recreate that exactly, I'll have the perfect angle for the back of the horse. Each one of these panels or sections tells another story about how far along I have to go. Using the blending tool to make my shapes as smooth and consistent as possible so I can see them. I know that I keep in mind that I just do one shape at a time. I don't try to anticipate what I need in the future. I just trust whatever I'm doing at the moment. Now we're going to fill in some of the shadow shapes on the horse itself. And looking for not how dark everything is at this time, I'm looking for, is it not light? If it's got a little bit of tone on it, I'm going to put that tone there. I'm going to worry about the darker things a little bit later, but mostly just if it's not light, I want to fill it in. Everything is going to have a tone except for the lightest parts. Looking at some angles. It's really interesting that as I do this, I know that I'm feeling my way across, trying to figure out how far, what the shape is, how big it is, how you can kind of get a feeling for how far you've gone by just, it's almost a touch measurement. I go so far and I know that that's about the right distance. I can kind of feel it happening as I put it down. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this leg put in at quite a bit of a dark. I see it as probably an 8, so I'm going to throw it in. It'll probably be blended in a little bit lighter as I refine it, but the edges can be placed by putting it really dark next to it. So we're ending up with a 10 behind it and maybe an 8 on that off front leg. Horse term, off leg, which means it's the furthest one away from you. There's near and there's far, or near and off. But isn't it fascinating how putting these shapes in behind give you so much more information. I can say it again. I don't ever look at the horse itself. If I'm doing a negative shape, I'm really concentrating on seeing the outside, not the inside. I love this Degas horse with all of its spaces from this position, because you cannot work without seeing the shapes in between the legs. Really hard to get this animal correct unless you do the measurement, do the direction, do the shadow shapes. This line went up kind of straight. Looking at it from a distance now, I can see there should have been a little bit of angle to the left and then a corner and come back to the right. So there's right at where the edge of the light is, right there. There's a turn in the shape of that shadow by the tail. Missed that. Maybe I'll catch it later. I'm also trying to remember not to have these lights below as light as the light above, because everything on the lower half of this horse darker than everything on the top piece of light on the horse. So eventually this piece of light on the off hind leg has to be darkened a little bit. Getting a little bit closer to the value that I'm seeing. Darkening the darks. So if you start from a middle dark and then darken it a little bit more, it's not quite as much of a jump, and so it's easier to get the correct value. There, I knocked that piece of light down a little bit. So when the tail gets dark next to it, it'll look light again, but it won't be as light as the top. I try to work the whole thing a little bit all over, not just one place and finish it. My instructor used to pull the drawings away from us, and if we were working from top to the bottom or finishing one part like an eye or a detail in the face or something very small, it really didn't look like it was a drawing that could stand on its own. So if you keep working everything at the same level of finish all the way around, you can pull it at any time and it'll still stand on its own. Good thing to remember. Keep working around the whole drawing so that it's not done piece by piece. It should be done a little bit at a time everywhere. Darker, darker. Developing all your shapes from large to small, from general to the specific. And that's far enough on this one.